teams have always had very scheme-flexible defenses, even dating back to when you were a coordinator with the Giants. How much does versatility go into when you search for players, and what goes into making a game plan week in, week out when you have such versatility in the way you play?
Well, what goes into the game plan is identifying the things that your opponent does well and how you feel like you need to play them, and then utilizing the personnel that you have to try to defend it. And sometimes that depends on what you do, depends on how versatile or how much experience your players have and what they're able to handle. Again, as I said earlier, you want to do something that you feel confident in, the players feel confident in. It's something that we've done before, or that we know how to do, at least the fundamentals. Maybe it's two things put together to create something new, but at least we've done the basics and the fundamentals of them before. So versatility is good. I mean, look, we face a lot of different types of offenses throughout the league, and you need some versatile players on the field, but you also need good players who can do certain things. If they can do them very well, they don't have to be versatile. They can just do their things. You don't need 11 versatile players, but you're going to need a couple. And that's true, really, I think, in all three phases of the game. But I don't think that's a must for everybody. But if you don't have a few guys that can do that, then you become a little bit inflexible, and eventually there'll be some matchups that'll, I think, give you problems.
Hey, Coach. Alan Bell, 24/7 Sports. When you're facing a team that has multiple talented running backs, setting a plan, do you approach those running backs individually, or do you look maybe the offensive line scheme of how they're blocking? How do you go about that? And I understand that, it's kind of a game plan question too, but just how do you approach that?
Yeah, look, we need to know every player that's on the active roster, and then the ones that get eliminated on the inactive list before the game. We don't have to worry about them for that game, but the guys that are on the active roster, we need to know them all. Players are different. They have different skills, and knowing which player's in the game, and if that player has more of a tendency in one particular thing than another, or the way the team utilizes that player in one way or another, then that's important for us to know. So, yeah, absolutely. We definitely need to know who's in the game. I'm sure a lot of their plays are the same plays for both guys, and do they run the same? There are some similarities. I think there are some differences. Again, we need to know those differences, at least to prepare for them. And then, as the game unfolds, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we have to know everybody that's on the active roster. That's our job.
We're going over here against the wall.
Tony Grossi, ESPN Cleveland. Hi, Bill. How would you describe the contributions Josh Gordon made to the Patriots season, and would you be willing to welcome him back if he were ever reinstated?
Yeah, I think we've already talked about that, Tony, and right now I'm just focused on the players that are here and that'll be playing in this game.
We're going to the other side of the room.
Bill, Brian Costello, New York Post. What does Trey Flowers bring to your defense?
Well, Trey's been a very productive player for us for the last 3 years. Missed most of his rookie year, but he's been very productive. He's a versatile player. He does a lot of things well. He's a great worker, a great teammate, guy that everybody has a lot of confidence in. He really works very hard to excel at his job, both knowing what to do, reading his keys, and the techniques and fundamentals that he can exercise in a lot of different positions. He's played everywhere from the nose to 9 techniques, so he's been a very key player for us and a very good player.
We're going to the center.
Hi, Richard Faragó, Sport 1 TV Hungary. One of the big mysteries with the Patriots games, if you are winning the coin toss, that you want the ball or you defer, what are the deciding factors about this question?
Yeah, the circumstances of that particular game, so our opponent and all the things that go with the things that are part of that game. So we talk about that each week and make that decision independently of other weeks and other games. We try to do what we feel like is best for that particular game for whatever the combination of reasons are, but they're different every week because our opponents are different, and sometimes the circumstances of the game are different.
Coach Tyler Englander, WBN. Can you talk about the differences and challenges in preparing for two running backs, C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley?
Yeah, I mean, as we said, both of those players are outstanding players. You know, a lot of the plays are the same, if not all of them. They may have separate plays for each guy, but there would be no way for us to know that. We'd have to anticipate that each player could run the other plays the other one runs. You know, they're both good downhill runners. They're strong. They have good balance. They fight for extra yards. They're hard to tackle. They're tough in the open field. So they've done a good job for them.
Going over here to the right.
Coach, Matt Birch, the Sports Daily. You've done a great job, your staff, and the offensive line has done a great job keeping Brady upright this year, or this playoffs. He's been hit 3 times in the last 90 pass plays. Talk about maybe some of the challenges the Rams' defensive front presents and how you'll be able to kind of keep Brady upright.
Well, pass protection is it'll be a big challenge for us this week against the Rams. They have a great pass rush. They have a lot of different players that can put pressure on the passer. Of course, it starts with Donald, but it's a lot more than him. Guys like Sue can line up anywhere from on the nose to a 3 technique to sometimes out in a 5 or a little bit wider than that. So they move those players around a little bit. They also have some blitz packages that affect your protection. So we'll have to do a good job of all those. It'll take good teamwork across the board, our offensive line, our quarterback, our receivers getting open so we don't have to hold the ball, tight ends and so forth. So that'll be a combination of things, but it's obviously difficult. They're very good. Wade does a real good job with his rush packages and finding matchups, creating problems for the offense based on the type of protection or the type of plays that they run in certain situations, and he makes those matchups tough. So we'll have to, it'll be a battle. It'll be a battle.
Going to the left side of the room.
Coach, you've said, Nick Padone, Cleveland Sports Talk, you've said that the Rams have potential to be explosive in just about everything that they do. With that in mind, what's the mindset like for you as a coach in trying to make this thing a shootout of a game or try to win a close-scoring affair?
Well, I mean, it starts with not giving up a lot of, easy plays. I mean, they've scored 5 times on defense and special teams this year, so they can block a punt, they can return a punt, they can, Kansas City game, strip sack the quarterback and walk it in for a touchdown. So, Talib, Peters, those 2 guys can very dangerous back there to pick the ball off and run in for a touchdown. So, now let's start with that. I mean, when I say they're explosive on all 3 phases of the game, obviously offensively they can score from anywhere with a number of different guys, but I mean defensively they scored on turnovers, and in the kicking game they're very explosive and dangerous too. So there's no play really to relax on these guys. They can do a lot of damage in a lot of different ways, and we're going to have to play 60 minutes of good football. I mean, you screw up one play and they'll have it in the end zone.
Coach William Benditson, how you doing?
Good. Brother.
I was just wondering, one of the things I find remarkable about you, like me, I have a love of history, and you do too, for both the game and American history too. Where did you sort of develop that love of history, and does it help you as a coach, given your vast knowledge of football history, seem to know everything, a lot of what's gone on in the game in the past 50 years?
Do I take that as a compliment, or? Yeah. Okay. I guess I've been around a long time. Well, obviously, we'll start with my parents. I mean, they're, both educators. We had a lot of books and always read a lot about history and visited historical places. Certainly Annapolis is one, but, going to Gettysburg and all the Washington things, that was always field trips and so forth. But from football standpoint, my dad collected football books from the time I can remember, just as a little kid, and then I sort of got into that too. I'd find books for him, or he'd have doubles and so forth, and so we ended up with, I think it was like 4,000 books or something like that. That was a lot of them. Anyway, so from a football historical basis, that was the books there, and then that led to, a lot of other conversations about the books that were written, who they were written about, or what the subject was and so forth. Certainly football coach, and the books he collected were really old books. I mean, I'd say, he didn't want anything really after 1960. It was and there's surprisingly quite a few books that were football books that were written in that era. So, talking about the people that were featured in those books, people like, Amos Alonzo Stagg, who coached Coach Harden, who was the head coach at Navy, and we talked about him yesterday. Zupke, Yost, Camp. I mean, you can go all the way back into the 1900s, the teens, and all the pro coaches, Hallis and Lambeau and so forth. So all those players were people were, prominent in the development of the game. My parents are from Ohio, from outside of Cleveland. And so we regularly went to the Hall of Fame in Canton, and my dad knew a couple of the people there that he had known from his Ohio connections, and we would go down into the basement of the Hall of Fame, and they would show us their collection of books, which was, other than the Library of Congress, I think it's the largest collection of football books that there is, and at least we got a chance to see some books. Like, we recognized a lot of them, but there were certainly a lot of them that we didn't have, and back in those days it was a little harder to find them without some of the resources we have now. So we did that. So we'd spend hours down in the basement of the Hall of Fame just going through their books and their library, and so, again, the Hall of Fame was an annual trip for us. That was part of we went to Hiram, where the Cleveland Browns practiced, and my mom taught, my dad coached football and basketball and track there, and so that's where they met. So the Browns were there, the Hall of Fame, Paul Brown, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, all that was just, that's how I grew up. So. And I've always enjoyed it. I've always been interested in it, and it's always fascinating for me to talk to people from, that predate me, which I guess there aren't that many anymore, but there's a couple. And, especially the coaching part of it, learn about the evolution of certain defenses or of certain techniques or how the game evolved, before I was really introduced to it. One of the best experiences I had was in the 8th grade. My 8th grade coach played at Clemson, and we ran the single wing. And so that's the only time I've had any exposure to the single wing, but obviously that was a key part of the game, going all the way back into the, teens and 20s with, Rockneys, box and so forth. And then Lambeau took that to Green Bay, and then we evolved in the T formation. But everybody grew up playing T formation when I was a kid. So to have the opportunity to run the single wing for a year and just understand it, and that's obviously what my dad ran and what he played, and so we talked a lot about that. But that was a great experience for me, one that I really appreciate. Coach Mann ran it. I didn't really know what. None of us knew what it was. There was only a couple college teams that, I think UCLA and Clemson, I don't know, were a couple of the last teams to run it. And then we actually, when I was at Andover, we played against it at Lawrenceville, and under Coach Kuffel, who, he ran it. That was in, the early 70s, but he continued to run it at Lawrenceville Academy after that. So, I didn't obviously play there, but we did play against it one year when I was in high school or in prep school. And so, that was a great experience for me too, that, I had an opportunity to do that. Again, and just while I'm on the subject, I'd say, we've had so many conversations about, great players and so forth. But, one of the real, I think, challenges when you talk about great players in the National Football League is the two-way players versus the one-way players. And, in our game today, everybody's essentially a one-way player, including the specialists. If you go back to a certain point in time, let's call it the 40s and certainly the 30s, but there were, mostly all two-way players, and that was a different type of a player. So maybe they didn't excel as much in some skills as some of the current players do, but our current players don't have to play both ways, or they do in rare situations. I mean, Edelman's done it for us, Troy Brown did it for us, Vrabel did it for us, but that's a pretty short list. So that's a long answer to a short question, but thank you for getting me going on that. Yeah. Class, we got, class will start tomorrow at 9 9 o'clock, yeah.
Coach, we just have 2 left, okay? We're going to go more over here.
I don't know how to follow that up. You guys have talked for 20 years about being game plan specific, and other coaches will talk about how amazing it is how you guys are able to toggle from being one thing to being the next on the fly. I'm wondering if wanting to be that way has sort of required you guys to look for a certain type of player regardless of position.
Well, yeah, I think, again, it's a function of your roster makeup and versatility. And again, we see a lot of different things over the course of the year, offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game. And it's hard for, for us, for one size to fit all. We try to be competitive against all of those things. And to do that, I think you need players with a variety of skills, and some players that are able to transcend different positions, if you will, or different techniques depending on what you're facing and what you're up against. So I don't know, again, that's just kind of the way I was brought up. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's just the way I look at the game. I want to try to match up against our opponent the best that we can, and sometimes that involves doing things that you haven't done the week before or you haven't done the month before, because this game's just different. And sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you're able to, find a pattern of things that you're able to build on week after week, and that certainly happens many times too. And there's a lot of advantages to that. So.
Is it fair to say intelligence is an important piece of that for players to deal with those?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is, again, I hear the phrase a lot on players. Well, once they have it, they have it. It might, take them some reps or some experience to get it. Once they have it, they have it. Doesn't really help us too much, because each week can be a new week. So once you have it, you have it for that week, but you don't necessarily have it for the next week. So a lot of our learning is to a degree reteaching, re-game planning every week. So I think it takes a certain type of individual that can have the motivation and the discipline to continue to want to do that, to throw away last week's game plan, to forget about last week's keys and film and everything else, and move on to the next team and start from scratch and start to just rebuild the house each week, and then at the end of the week move on and start on a new one. And that's not easy to do. I give our players a ton of credit. They work extremely hard. They prepare hard. They are very committed to trying to do what we ask them to do. And I really appreciate that, because I know we demand a lot, and they respond with a lot. So we have a great group. Couldn't ask for any better group.
Okay, we have one more question. Same spot.
Adam Beasley with the Miami Herald. Coach O'Shea has been part of your staff for the better part of a decade. What specifically has he done to make your team better?
Yeah, Chad's been with us for quite a while, and I knew Chad's dad, Mike. He and I were together with the Colts in '75, so I know his family and so forth. Chad's done a great job with the receivers, and worked very closely in developing those players and some of our other younger players in that receiving area at different positions and so forth. He's been He's done a good job of handling, and that's primarily what it's been. It's been the receiver position, but he's done a great job of handling that for us. Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, go.
We're going to bring up Devin McCourty.
Questions for Devin? Please hold your hand up if you have a question for Devin. Okay, right here. Right here in the front row.
Devin, Mike Petralia, CLNS Media. How much do you still love playing the game, and have you at all thought about retiring?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've been focused on this season. It's been a lot of fun this year. We battled through different things, ups and downs of the team. So being here now, my 9th year, and being able to go with these guys out every day and work, and coming off tough losses, coming off big wins, and just kind of ramping it back up and getting ready to go. And then, getting to play in the last game. Being back in Foxborough was awesome, but then being here this week, of hanging with the guys off the field and then just putting in the work to try to prepare and be ready to go for Sunday has been a lot of fun.
We're going to the far left.
Devin Edwarder with Westwood One. You got a chance to see
in some respects, your defense against the Rams offense because they played the Lions and Matt Patricia, your former defensive coordinator. What are the benefits of having that tape and that experience to look at?
I would say one of the benefits is a lot of it we're familiar with. Some of the things that Detroit tried to do. Obviously, we don't know exact game plan wise, and within this defense, whether it's here or Matty P, having the ability to adjust and change game plan depending on that week. So, we definitely watched that game. I think as the players, just to see if we could figure out some of the things Detroit was trying to do and how the Rams attacked them. So, we know there's some crossover there. So we'll probably see some things that hurt them in the game. But that's what this time of the year is about, going through all of these games, regular season and playoffs, and anything that we do similar to another team and the Rams have had success with, we kind of expect to see some of that.
We're going to the second row.
Hello, Devin. Jesus Sanchez from Reforma Group in Mexico. What's been the best part and also the worst part about playing alongside your brother Jason?
I would say the best part is he kind of knows who I am and pushes me, and great communication. And I would say the worst part is he kind of knows who I am and he gets on my nerves.
Devin here. Hi, Devin.
Hello.
Hey, to follow up on that a little bit, I'm sure you've probably been asked this a lot this week, but I'm going to ask it again anyway. Do you have a memory or two you could share from your childhood, a favorite memory with your brother?
Wow, we have a lot. I would say, I guess, some of the best memories were just in high school, playing high school football together, high school basketball. I always tell a story. Our high school coach, Coach Doherty, would call a timeout, and he'd get on the sideline and want to draw something up for the team. But me and Jay would be mad at each other, so we'd be yelling and screaming at each other on the sideline until there was about 20 seconds left in the timeout. He'd tell us to shut up and then get to coach. So we've been super competitive, work well together, but, go at each other pretty hard at times. I would just talk about playing Pop Warner football together and having fun, and never would imagine to be able to now be on this platform playing in the Super Bowl together with the same kind of mentality.
We're in the same spot.
Hey, Devin, Matt Verder, I'm a fan side. Just curious, your defense, the Patriots defense, is so versatile in the way it can play from week to week. You guys are a heavy man team, but a lot of times guys play different roles throughout that defense. How hard is that to do on a week-in, week-out basis compared to maybe other teams where they're fairly inflexible in the way they play?
It's a challenge, but I think it's something we're all used to. We all know we can have multiple roles and game plans, and a lot of it kind of falls on the key communicators out there and the guys that have been here for a while. So, but I think within that challenge, we know a lot of times if we're doing multiple things, it probably puts us in the best position for the team and also our strength. So I think that's one of the best parts about playing in this defense. It definitely allows guys to play in different positions that, fall into their strengths physically and mentally. So each game we go in, and each time we come in Wednesday morning, it's kind of like, all right, let's see what we got, let's see where I am. And we never really know how we're going to play. Maybe one of your coaches shoot you a text Tuesday night. But other than that, I think guys are always mentally prepared to play different roles.
Hey, Devin, Tom Lydon, Boston 25 News. Take me back, if you could, to the plane ride back from Pittsburgh, because you lose 2 games in a row. This team's facing something that you really haven't faced much over the last few years. What were you feeling, I guess is the best way to ask specifically, about what the team's chances were at that point?
Just feeling like we need to win the next week. That point in the season, I think we kind of went into each game, one to win. To go to Miami, had a chance to win the division, then go to Pittsburgh, have a chance to win the division. You're looking at other scores and realize you still have a chance to win the division. There's still a lot in front of you. And I thought that was kind of the tone throughout the whole team, that no matter what happened, we still had a lot in front of us to play for. And, we ended up kind of exactly where we left off, losing to Miami. For those 2 weeks, we still left off in the driver's seat to get the 2 seed, and we got that. And then we knew once you got in the playoffs, it was all about how you played.
We're going to stay here.
Hey, Dev. Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston. I wanted to ask you, obviously you guys have spoken many times about how difficult it is to play for New England, the expectations, the amount of work that you're expected to put in. How hard can that be to get up for year in, year out when the season goes as long as it does? And what have you guys done this year that's made it seem more enjoyable in any ways, if at all?
I would say the off season allows you to get ready for whatever the next season entails. You kind of get to recharge your batteries, a lot of time with your family doing things that you truly enjoy in the off season. So I think as an older guy, you learn to use that time wisely and really enjoy it, because once football ramps back up, you're all in. And then I would say within the season, bye weeks and stuff kind of give you time to get away. And what was your second question?
This team expects a lot.
Oh, yeah.
How you were able to have, I mean, I know Bill does a few things during the year, but what were you able to do differently this year for fun?
I think just starting in April, we had some pretty cool team exercises, and I thought the team got to grow together. We have a great mix of older guys and young guys within the team. Like, you look at our secondary, we're, as most of you would say, we're on the older side. But you look at guys like Keon and JC and Duke and now Obi being there, I think kind of makes some of us feel young again, allows us to have a good time teaching those guys and mentoring those guys. And I think through that, it's allowed us to just have a great bond inside the locker room, whether it's trash talking and competing or just doing things to have fun within the locker room or within our team time.
Devin, right over here on the left. Devin, Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston.
Did y'all plan that?
Yes, coming at you from all sides. Rob Gronkowski, somebody you've practiced against quite a bit over the years. I'm wondering if, given the amount that you study tight ends across the league and you kind of see where that position has gone, if you feel like we will ever see a tight end similar to Gronk in terms of being able to both block and catch as effectively as he has.
Probably. I mean, I feel like you watch high school sports, these kids are way better athletes than the guys like me born in the late 80s. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think just seeing, you know, how athletic guys are and what they're able to do. Like, look at Big Trent in our team. He showed us a video back during the season of him doing dunks and stuff, and I think it was in the off season. So I wouldn't be surprised, but, you know, it might take a while. He's a pretty good player.
Going back here on the right.
Devin, Trey Dara, 7 News out of Boston. You've been fortunate enough to see and do so much in your 9-year career. How have you noticed through these years your hunger, your motivation, your goals? How have they evolved?
Just having fun playing football, I say. You know, I think coming in and getting a chance to get to know guys and having a relationship with guys like Slater and Chung and Jules that, you know, have been there since I was a rookie, and all the different ups and downs we've had, you know, playing in Super Bowls, heartbreaking losses in Super Bowls, AFC championships. I think getting the opportunity and being very thankful and blessed to play with those guys each year, and then taking on a role of being a leader and a mentor to all the younger guys and trying to pass the knowledge, you know, to Vince Wilfork, Gerard Mayos, Kevin Fox, passed down to me. I kind of passed down to them, and I think seeing them succeed and have success with those things is great inspiration and motivation each day I come in the facility.
We're going to get 2 more questions for Devin. First one's in the front row.
Thank you, Devin. Jacobo Luna for Fox Sports Latin America. You grew up watching that Rams offense with Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt. Do you see any kind of similarities between McVay's Rams and the greatest show on turf? I mean, they got the receivers, the running back, the quarterback.
Yeah, they both score a lot of points. So we got to do a good job of trying to limit them. But yeah, I would definitely say there's some similarities. I even got a chance to play with Torrey Holt when I first got in the league. So they're a tough team. You know, I think, you know, obviously they had a nickname that was pretty cool years ago. But this offense is still able to put up a lot of points and yards in the game.
Okay, we're going last question for Devin.
Hi, Chelsea McDonald, 7 News. How much has your mom influenced you throughout your entire life, and how special do you think it's going to be for her to see you and your brother playing in the Super Bowl?
She's been my hero since I was young. I think growing up throughout the years and seeing her sacrifices, she got hurt on the job and had to collect disability, and I think her whole life kind of shifted towards raising her kids. She took us and picked us up from every practice, from youth all the way up to high school, dropped us off at college. When we didn't get our license right away in college, she'd pick us up on the weekend sometime. So my mom sacrifices throughout the years of what she was able to do for her kids. I think kind of taught me how to step up and be a man, be a father, father, be a husband, and it's really changed my life. So as much as I think Jason and myself have enjoyed being together and having fun, you guys seen us Monday night joking around. She gets in here tomorrow, and I'm sure she'll be all smiles from Thursday all the way up till Monday morning. Thank you.
That concludes the press conferences in this area. In the back of this room are the Patriots assistant coaches. We have 10 players available to the right at risers, and then 2 rooms down to the right, to my right, to your left, is
So we're getting Brady live through WBTS. So. Do you want me to bring your stick? Yeah, can you grab it? Yeah.
How important it is to you, especially at a moment like this, and then I'll follow that with one other question.
It's awesome. First starts with my grandparents. My parents are very impactful with faith. My grandma, she'll be here at the game on Sunday. She probably wouldn't be watching. She'll be praying the entire time, doing the rosary, just going to church as a kid. Just, may not have paid attention so much when you were a child, but as you got older, you realize how much faith could help you in life. And we have a great chaplain, Jack Easterby, who challenges our faith each and every day. We have Bible study like twice a week just to keep us on track, make sure we always have God first in our life. I mean, football is fun and everything, but what's more important is keeping God first and spreading His word. So it's been a big factor.
Obviously, your ability can't get you on the field without knowing that playbook. And how important is the playbook for life?
It's the most important playbook. Like I said, it keeps you grounded. It always gives you direction when you feel like you're lost. You can always talk to God when anything comes up, any adversity in life. I think whenever you can get in that book, it can help you so much.
Yeah, last question. Our theme of our Christian program here for this year is finishing strong. Maybe a few points that you could touch somebody's life, watching them, a few things that they could do to finish strong in life.
I say definitely just getting your word, speak to others who you may know are very knowledgeable in their word. I know we have a lot of guys that are more knowledgeable than me and reading the Bible and everything. So whenever I have questions, I can ask them, and just seeing how they've, strengthened their walk over the course of their life, and just figuring out ways I can do better, because there's always room to improve, and you're never going to be perfect. And
maintaining right relationships.
Yeah, maintaining the right relationships for sure. And it's easy when you're playing football to get caught up and the attention being on you and everything, but when it all comes down to it, that people shouldn't be looking at you, they should be looking at God.
Thank you, buddy.
James, is this one of the toughest defensive fronts, maybe the toughest that you faced all year, especially the front four?
Oh, they're really good, very disruptive. At Donald, Sue, Fowler, Brockers, those linebackers are fast, and they're even their secondary, they'll create turnovers on you. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. Those guys have been playing well all year, and you can't just let them tee off on you.
Anybody you can compare them to that you faced in the regular season?
They're their own beast. Like I said, every defense has their own unique traits and everything, and they work with each other extremely well. And they have a good defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips, and he always dials up a great game plan.
James, how much do you care about credit? You got a lot of catches, Sony got all the touchdowns against the Chargers. Is that something that crosses your mind at all?
No, not at all. We just care about who, getting wins at the end of the day. we all know we're not going to be out there each and every play. You're not going to score a touchdown each and every week. You may get 1 catch 1 week, 20 catches 1 week. You never really know. So whatever it takes to get wins, that's all that matters.
It seems like that's kind of the Patriot way. I know you're still young in your career, but you've had so much success. How do you kind of take stock of being in a 3rd straight Super Bowl and what that means? A lot of players never play in.
I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about. Definitely know it's not easy to get to this point, making the playoffs, get the Super Bowl. So definitely enjoy every moment of it. Don't take it for granted. Just make the most of the opportunity.
I was talking to an analyst this week that said, outside the time, you're the straw that stirs the drink. When they're involving you in the pass game is when this Patriots offense is at its best. What does that type of praise mean to you, and do you agree?
I think whenever anybody's having success in our offense is going. I mean, it could be anybody on any given Sunday or whatever day we're playing on. It could be Rex 1 week, Sony. It could be Julian 1 week, Philip Dorsett, Gronk. I mean, we have a bunch of guys who can step in and make big plays. It's not just about one person. I think when everybody's touching the ball, we're the best.
James, what do you remember about Super Bowl 36, the first time that the Patriots played the Rams in the Super Bowl?
No, I don't really remember the game vividly. I was probably 9 years old. I was probably definitely watching the game. I remember the Rams having the greatest show on turf, all that, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, and all those guys. And Tom being an underdog and winning that football game is pretty cool to see.
I was looking at how championship rosters are constructed. Of course, the Patriots are a good example of a lot of that. There's only been like 5 total receivers and running backs that were all pros in that same year won the Super Bowl. Does that show that the teams that have one guy that they lean on don't necessarily make it all the way? You have to really be well-rounded to be a championship team?
I mean, I don't think there's any one rhyme or reason. It could be a all-pro receiver that wins the Super Bowl. Just whoever's the best team on that given Sunday is going to win that football game. So, I mean, it's not about the accolades at the end of the day. It's just going out there and playing good football.
James, you've seen Gronk do everything on the field from blocking, receiving. But can you talk about the type of how he's matured as a leader?
I mean, he's an awesome leader. I mean, he's a very outgoing guy. He enjoys being out there. I mean, he's had so much success over his career, battled through injuries. He's a tough, dependable guy. And I mean, he's a beast, man. And it's always a plus having him out there.
Is there one play from Gronk or a moment that stands out to you when you look back 10 years from now? I'm like, man, I can't believe he did that.
I mean, there's a lot of plays from practice, games, everything. I mean, maybe the stiff arm versus Chiefs the first time we played him. There's like him one-on-one with a safety, him just tossing him to the ground. I mean, there's a lot of impressive stuff that he does. I mean, he blocks very well. He doesn't get enough credit for that. There's a lot of tight ends that can't block like him, so there's a lot of different things.
Bill seemed to be in a good spirits just now. He's cracking about 4 or 5 jokes. Has he been any different this week than he has been in Super Bowl weeks? Is he more relaxed now?
No, he's always the same guy. Challenges us each and every week. Demands the best out of his players. Wants you to be well prepared. He's going to prepare you well, and I mean, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. So, I mean, he's going to have you prepared very well.
James, before you talk about the competitiveness between you and Sony and the rest of the running backs in your corps, can you describe the brotherhood between the 3 of you and especially the 2 other backs that come in every now and then?
We have a great relationship. We're all pretty quiet, humble guys, just work hard, put the team first. I mean, Sony coming in, it was almost like he was a veteran, just put his head down and work. And I mean, we didn't really have to teach him too much. He's a smart football player and a good football player, so he's been a big bonus for us. And Rex battled through injuries all year long, stepped right in, later in the season in the playoffs and making huge plays for us. So, I mean, nobody cares who's out there the most. We just care about getting wins.
Hey, James. Everybody talks about Dominican Sue and Aaron Donald. Do you think your set skills are special in this game?
We'll get on to Hightower.
What's this game like, physically and emotionally? It's a longer game, it's a longer halftime. How do you prepare for that? How's that different from a regular season game?
I
mean, like you said, the halftime is going to be a little bit longer, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of time, and we'll take advantage of that time, whether it be halftime adjustments or whatever needed to be. But I don't see anything different. It's still going to be offense, defense, special teams. We'll have to go out and execute.
What has Brian Flores brought to the defensive unit this year as a leader?
A lot of passion. I think that the way that he goes about it, about coaching us, and the way that he installed the defense from day one. A lot of guys bought in, and whenever you have guys buying in to what you're doing, and how you're coaching, how you're preaching, and willing to accept hard and tough coaching, you're able to excel well, and you have guys go out there and just willing to fight for it.
When you see the Rams on tape offensively, what do you see?
A great offense that loves to run the ball. It's great running the ball. In between and outside the tackles. A team that is offensively driven by the run game. The quarterback has a great arm and does a good job with the play action and the boot game of getting the ball down the field.
How do you prepare for CJ and Todd separately or together as two dynamic backs?
Obviously, they're two different backs, but at the same time, they excel at the same thing and what they're both good at, which is getting downhill, and both of them have great vision and are great at the cutback. And a lot of times they're forcing those arm tackles. And two strong guys like that will run through arm tackles, damn near every time. So we just got to do a good job of getting downhill and building a wall and trying to avoid those arm tackles.
You had guys like Devin saying the other night, maybe I don't know if I'm going to come back next year. He's walked that back a little bit. Gronk is the future and flow. There's obviously this changes every year. Does that heighten the moment even more, knowing that the group after Sunday, other than maybe a parade, if you're lucky enough, right, won't be together again?
Honestly, I mean, either way, that's kind of how it falls every year whether it's after the Super Bowl or a playoff game, or if you don't make the playoffs, that's kind of how it is. And when you sit out there, and you think about it. You definitely, if that's the case, you definitely want it to be. You want to get it, obviously, if that's the case. But I'm looking at it like it's the same. We'll handle that after. We'll do all of that. But right now, I'm preparing for. This is my last and my final game too. This is the Big Daddy. So I'm preparing for that way.
Bill's always talked about you step on the treadmill and you're flying right away. You got a gear, and then all of a sudden when it's over, the treadmill just comes to a stop, and there's no real. It's not a smooth disembarking from the ride, if you will. Is that part of it too, that you're together for 6-7 months closely every day, and then all of a sudden, boom? See you later.
It is, but I think with a lot of teams and a lot of guys, we build a lot of camaraderie, so it's not like everybody just kind of dips and nobody's like talking to each other. Everybody, a lot of guys, have off-season plans and stuff together, and a lot of guys, kids grow up together, and we're a lot closer than that. So just because Dev does retire, it's not gonna be my last time seeing Dev. So obviously I miss playing with him, but we'll be all right.
Would you politics someone not to retire?
Oh, yeah, no. Of course, I tell him all the time. He's not. Don't even think about it, but we'll cross that bridge.
Talk about your development in New England since you've been able on the field, and how far you've come since your days at Alabama.
Just feel like I've grown a lot. Definitely came in, wanted to be a sponge. Grew up watching Gerard and learned a lot from him, a lot from Vince, a lot from Pepper Johnson. Pushing forward, and 2014 learned a lot from Pat Graham, Matty P, Matt Patricia, big people in that. Just blessed to be where I'm at.
And now talk about Landon Roberts. We talked to him yesterday. He talked about what a leader you've been for him and how he kind of tries to ask you questions all the time in practice. And now you're kind of a leader and the alpha dog of this defense.
I just, like I said, when I came in, Gerard was that guy. I guess much like E-Rod, I was the same way, wanting to learn and wanting to better myself. And what way to do that than a guy that's kind of been in the system for as long as he was, and just kind of trying to lead and do the things that the guys before me did.
How closely does the New England system kind of mirror the Alabama system, not scheme-wise, but everything else around it, program-wise?
I ain't been back in Alabama in a minute, so I'm sure some things have changed, but I think some things are the same, some things are different, but ultimately I think that guys buy into what the coach is selling. And, obviously, Nick's had a lot of success there, and Bill has too, and I think it's because the coaches and players believe in what he's doing and what he's saying, how he's coaching and everything. And, I think whenever everybody buys in, it's it's a lot easier for the ship to go.
Was it easier for you to transition to the NFL coming from Alabama, and how closely intertwined Saban and Belichick are?
I would like to think so. I think that came in with a little bit a step or two ahead of some other guys just as far as terminology and stuff went. And then obviously, Nick having a complex defense is kind of somewhat the same way.
How big does Trey Flowers play a part on this defense? How big is his role?
A lot. Trey's probably the most, him and Chunk's probably the two most versatile guys on our team. Trey does a lot for us, plays a lot of different positions. We ask him to do a lot, and it's a very demanding position usually what he's in, and he does day in and day out. He delivers.
Dante, Steph is not a very loud guy, not a very talkative guy. He's kind of a quiet dude. Can you act as his hype man in this instance and tell us something about him that maybe we don't know, that is something that we don't see that allows him to have the success that he has?
Just try to keep like just try to
just going to work hard and try to prepare hard and
excuse me, I'm not trying.
practice hard.
Sorry.
And prepare hard for Los Angeles.
What is it do you think that you brought to them the last couple of years to get to this point of this dynasty?
I'm not a talent evaluator. You should ask Coach Belichick that one.
Hey, Julian, when you were dealing with your suspension, how did you like that, Mike?
Go ahead. What's up?
So I read your book. I know you're relentless about a lot of things when adversity hits you, and it did at the beginning of the season. How did you use that as fuel to, when it was time to come back, to hit the ground running and really unleash something?
It seems to be coming.
I just had to practice what I preach. Just be relentless and just not worry about what I can't control, not worry about what happened in the past, not worry about what's happening in the future, worry about what's on my plate right now, work hard, and do everything to get help, just work your tail off and wait for your opportunity.
But did you come back with an extra hunger, like you had something more to prove than, say, a normal season because you missed the time?
I'm always pretty hungry. I'm a pretty hungry guy. I'm hungry right now, too.
Hungry for food or hungry for success?
D, all of the above.
What's your relationship with Tom like? How has he been helpful to you as a person and a player?
Didn't you ask us like yesterday the same question?
Pretty much. It's 2 days ago.
Guy's like a brother, okay? It's great to learn from him. We all know that. He's an older brother.
What's up, Jim? How you doing? Good. You got anything? You got anything?
If I get it, I'll call you. I need it. Julian, let me ask
See my guy right there. He's just calm, cool, and collect. Jim Gray.
Julian, can you take me back? I asked Devin this question. You know, getting on the plane in Pittsburgh, you guys were in a position where you really haven't been in a lot recently, where you got some serious games you got to win down the stretch. What was the mindset of the team facing that situation at that time?
I think the mindset is honestly the same. To just try to learn from your, mistakes that you made in the previous game, sharpen the ones that you did well, and go practice hard and try to improve. And that's what we try to do.
Do you think being in that urgent situation made the team better down the stretch?
Could have. I don't. Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna go with yeah?
I think we're gonna go with yeah.
What do you do on Saturday night to get yourself prepared for the game? You gonna sleep well, or what is your experience on Saturday night before a game?
I just go over my game plan. We usually, have a couple meetings, and then just go to sleep.
Do you sleep well?
I usually sleep pretty good on Saturdays. So people don't realize the week is so long. Like, it's the best night of sleep you get. So you don't have to wake up that early unless you want to stay in your routine. I don't know. I like to get to bed pretty early though.
Julian, I do have a question.
Oh, what we got?
How much did catching that ball against Atlanta change your life? And now that you're back at the Super Bowl, do you feel like you're being treated like a legend, like Lynn Swan, like David Tyree, like somebody will never be forgotten because of it?
It was cool. That was cool, but I mean, honestly, I haven't been out. I've just been hanging around the hotel. So
when you're out, do people bring it up?
I have, not really. I don't really, I just hear like a Jules chant, like Jules. Sounds like a boo almost. Like, boo.
How many times have you watched that play?
I haven't seen it in a while. Ready for the next play.
Hey, Jules, what's life been like without Josh Gordon? It seems like some guys have stepped up. How have things changed?
It's been like if you lost a teammate to injury or something like that. I mean, it's a terrible situation that our guy was in. You wish him the best, but things move on. I've been in that situation where I've been hurt and didn't play a whole year, and the team moves on. And you can only control things you can control. You worry about just going out and practicing hard and trying to improve daily.
We've seen an increase in production, like Chris Hogan and Phillip getting back into the mix. Do you guys talk amongst yourselves as a group and say, hey, it's time for, with him gone, everybody else, here's your opportunity to step up?
No. We just kind of go out and, if your name's called, your name's called. And, that group works hard, works their tail off. They don't worry about, noise, which is, a lot of that, what you're saying. But, it's more of, hey, let's just worry about practice. Let's sharpen our tools. Let's make the situations hard and try to perform. And the better we do in practice, the better you'll be able to do in the game.
Julian, what is it about the playoffs that brings out the best?
Don't know. Just, I just try to keep everything the same, prepare the same, routine the same, clock the same, and I don't know.
Given what you had to get through, you mentioned the injury, and then obviously having to miss the first 4 games of the season.
I'll let you know in a few days if it's rewarding or not.
Julian, whenever you're mic'd up, you seem to be very polite to DBs.
I'm not polite. That's just what they show you. Me and the NFL got something good right now.
Okay. Because you're always saying really nice things to each other. Are there moments you're not?
I mean, sometimes, I don't know. It's sometimes you get hit and like, damn, buddy, that was a good hit. And sometimes
something happens and, you know, you guys talk, but it's like going out in recess and playing at recess. You know, it's just a bunch of guys getting to play a game we love, so sometimes stuff happens.
Do you remember yelling, "You're too old" at Tom during the Chiefs game? That moment went viral.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I guess I remember it.
Julian, what trait do you admire the most in Tom Brady?
His professionalism.
Hey, I imagine it's hard to be teammates and describe what it's like to play with Gronk, but do you have a favorite Gronk story that you could tell? There's gotta be one.
There's not. Gronk stories are like children. They're all the same. We love them all the same.
How does Tom's professionalism show in everyday work?
Guy just works. Doesn't let up. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for 12 years.
12 years? He's been doing it for 17. 17. So, I mean, and he doesn't give up. He doesn't, like, I don't know. This is Super Bowl week, so you're probably here because this is the big one. You don't go to, like, the little stuff. Like, Tom goes that little stuff, bro.
I go to the Danish Super League in football. That's pretty small.
Got me.
Can you train to be tough? How do you become tough? Is that just something you have you born with, or how do you train?
I like to go and I'll go to a batting cage and put the tokens in, and I just like to sit in front of it and let the balls hit me in the face.
It's pretty good training. Other than that, what do you do?
I don't know. I just had an older brother who used to whoop my butt, so maybe that's it. He was like 7 years older.
Will you tell a story about how Charlie Fry had an influence on you? Charlie Fry?
Yeah, Charlie was a huge influence in my career. You know, we worked out at the same place over at Euclid, Ohio, over at Speed and Strength with Tim Robertson, and you know, I was working out there for a couple weeks, and Charlie was working out there, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, you're gonna throw with me." And he was like, you know, an NFL quarterback at the time. Anything he said, I would have done. And you know, he invited me to Akron. We'd go to Akron and throw after workouts, and then you know, he came and threw at a lot of my workouts with pro teams, and he was just a awesome guy, and you know, we stay in touch, and he just came out to a game a few weeks ago, so that was cool to see him and his wife, and you know, it's he's a big part of, you know, where I am.
I read the part of the book where you who you worked out with when you were undrafted, maybe going to the Packers and that sort of thing. But of course, you were right under the Browns' noses, obviously, and you worked out with them. How close was that as any sort of a possibility in your mind?
You know, you don't know when you're like that. I mean, heck, Josh, so maybe, who knows? But thankfully it didn't happen. I'm happy where I'm at, and happy to have the opportunity to get to go and play against the Los Angeles Rams.
Just one more for me, and that's, you hang out with the Cribs at
Rams.
all? You cross paths with Cribs every now and then?
I haven't seen Cribs in a while since we played against each other when he was with the Colts, but you know, we talked through one of our buddies, Casey Wolf, kind of. He's a Kent State guy, so you know, it's cool to get to hear about him, how he's doing and stuff.
Do you have a Gronk memory that stands out?
They all stand out, and I can't let one out, Bubs.
What do you like most about him?
He's just a lovable guy. You know, he works hard. He has fun. He's a beast. You know, it's literally like the big goofy kid in like 7th grade at recess, who's like 2 feet taller than everyone, having the most fun. Like, doesn't really like get mad, and like laughs because he's just dominating.